It was a beautiful Sunday afternoon. I was about 11 years old. My dad and I were fishing on Lake Tahoe from our boat, as we've done many times. However, on this day, I was both bored and curious. I was bored because it was the middle of the afternoon and we haven't caught a downer fish, and I was curious because we had been going back and forth over this rock, and I was wondering how deep the rock was. Now, for those of you who know Lake Tahoe, you know that you can see approximately 70 feet into the water, and the water is roughly 50 degrees. So this rock that is the size of a small car, it's hard to determine on exactly how deep it is. Well, with the challenge from my dad accepted, I jumped out of the boat to see how deep that rock was. As I quickly was trying to get back into the boat because it was way deeper than I could have possibly imagined, and the water was very cold. With my dad laughing, I climbed back into the boat. I learned two things from my dad that day. One, when he says that the water is deep and cold, listen to him. When he challenges you to jump out of the boat, don't listen to him. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. Who out there has a dad? Those of you that are not raising your hand, maybe you passed away, but you had a dad, right? Have any of you learned anything from your dad or your father figure in your life? I've learned a lot from my dad. Last Saturday, March 24th, 7:20 p.m., my father left this world a bit unexpectedly. And it has taught me something else. It's taught me a lot, actually. The first thing is that you need to get to know your family members. Not what are they doing from day to day, and how's your day, how did you enjoy that event. Get to know the intricate little details. My aunt flew in from Illinois, and I had an opportunity to spend a lot of time with her. This is my dad's sister. She was 3 years older than my dad. The first thing that she had mentioned, she didn't say, "Hey Jim, this," we were just having a conversation, and she mentioned a biker gang that my dad was a member of. Like, what? Wait a minute. What gang was he a member of? He was a member of the Justice Motorcycle Club. I was like, well, that's interesting. First of all, I'd never heard about that, and tell me a little bit more. She goes, well, it wasn't actually justice as in a legal term. It was just us. Motorcycle Club, and that's exactly what it was. It was a group of guys that would get together and go ride their bikes wherever they chose to ride that day. At that time in my dad's life, that meant bar hopping. So I learned that. It would have been nice to know that before my dad had passed away. Other things that I had learned from my dad while he was alive. Fishing, as I'd mentioned. Hunting. We went hunting. We had a little experience that I remember on my first deer hunt. I don't condone hunting anymore. These days I hunt with a camera, by the way. But this particular day I was hunting with a gun. We were walking down the side of the mountain trying to get our spot so we could watch for the deer. And we found ourselves walking across shale. Anyone familiar with shale? Number one rule about shale? Don't walk on it. Because it's very slippery. I shortly thereafter found myself with my feet up in the air, my back going to the ground, and my gun flying. Remembering those words from my dad, Jim, don't step on the shale. One of the most important things, though, that I think that I got from my dad, I learned a lot. A love of Harleys, by the way. I can't even throw my leg over anything that doesn't say Harley Davidson on it, and I love my Harley Davidsons. No offense to the rest of you, but that's what's been ingrained in my head. Guy asked me to move a Honda for him one day, and I said I can't. He goes, "So you don't have a motorcycle license?" No, yes, I have a motorcycle license, but that's a Honda. I don't ride Hondas. But the biggest one are cars. As some of you know in this room, I'm very, very deeply attached to cars, hot rods. This might not mean much to a lot of you, but I have two 1970 Chevelles, which is a very sought-after hot rod. I have a 55 Chevy. And the latest addition to my old cars is actually a 1966 Chevrolet C30 truck. Now, here lies the problem. Everything that I've done in my life that has anything to do with cars or motorcycles, my dad has been a part of. All my plans for my cars, the plans for the truck, not that we were going to work on them together, but in making decisions and moving forward and have somebody build the car for me, or maybe we did do little things shoulder to shoulder. My dad was always a part of it. Well, Toastmasters, I have to tell you right now, honestly, I don't know what I'm going to do with these vehicles. I'm not going to sell them if that's what you're thinking right now. But I'm trying to figure out what exactly is that I'm going to do with these cars, because my dad had some ideas and I had some ideas, and honestly, we had never completely put all those ideas together. I've learned a lot from my dad, as I've just mentioned. I'm very passionate about everything that I've learned from my dad. Of course, mostly I'm very passionate about my father. He was an amazing man who taught me a lot. The main problem, well, losing him was a problem. He had cancer, so it wasn't completely unexpected, although he did die fairly suddenly. I did not know that man. Don't let this be you. If there's someone in your family that is still with us today, have deep, in-depth conversations. One of the things that I learned from my dad was humility. He was in Vietnam. I did not know this story. I knew he was in Vietnam. He was in Vietnam. He was in the hospital in Vietnam. He had a ricochet bullet that went into his arm. So they were repairing the hole in his arm. When the proper people, actually Johnny Cash, came to him to award him the Purple Heart, he declined. Because of the fact that the man laying next to him had lost an entire limb. My dad said, I am not worthy of that Purple Heart. That man is worthy of that Purple Heart. Fellow Toastmasters, once again, please get to know the people in your life and get to know the intricate details before you no longer have that option. Mr. Toastmaster.
1 minute. 1 minute.